How's it going? Out here on a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon here in Denver, talking about a few ideation strategies and a few products and what that all means. So the first one, be less than all you can be. This one seemed pretty straightforward to me, that reducing the size or functionality of a product could, or essentially just simplifying it, would give it extra benefits or make it a lot simpler for users and make the product a lot easier. So one thing that I thought was reducing waste, essentially, would be a huge component of that. So for beer bottles, as we know, all these have little paper labels, tear right off, and they're artistically important and they label the bottle, but they don't necessarily have value besides this, and they're a bit wasteful. Now, other bottles like IBC root beer will have etched bottle designs that have all the same information, artistic quality, and branding that they need, but they don't have the paper waste, and it has a nice green component for the company as well. Another would be lighters. Everyone has used this at some point. I mean, people use them for different reasons, but one thing that is tough about these is the butane involved. Not only is it wasteful, but it can be harmful for people who are smoking, using these inhalants. It can be kind of tough. So a handheld automatic striker with a match, it can be reusable. It can be all metal. You don't have to throw it out or recycle and waste all the plastic when these are like especially non-refillables like these Bic lighters. And so that would be really helpful. And last would be a shower body scrubber, much like a kitchen tool such as this. The idea being that you put the soap directly in here, you reduce the need for plastic bottles of soap, all the soap packaging that comes with that, etc. Next, we have Island of Misfit Toys. For me, I thought that would be products that don't necessarily belong in the same space, but when used in conjunction can be really helpful. So for me, I tried to think, what do I use together that doesn't necessarily belong? And so for me, personally, I'm an insomniac and I have sleep problems. So I use CBD, like medically prescribed CBD, to help me sleep at night and in the morning as well, to help with other problems. And I also drink a lot of caffeine just to keep me awake, keep me going. And both of these come in tinctures, but they aren't necessarily combined together. I think if those were combined together, a lot of people would be interested in that. Another idea would be a wallet with an integrated tile slot. The tiles are little electronic devices used for keeping things, primarily like a wallet. If companies were able to make wallets with these tile slots, it'd be a lot easier and people would be more inclined towards buying it. Another thing would be Ring doorbells. Now, these are often used as deterrents and against burglars or intruders or whatever, but on the flip side of that, it could be used in the sense of a greeting. So adding a greeting component, like greeting people that it knows, and when it brings to you, being able to put out greetings to people and essentially flipping the narrative of what it's meant for. A third strategy is opposites attract. To me, I thought that this would be a product that unites two different markets that don't necessarily belong together, or two ideas that don't necessarily belong together, or maybe being counterintuitive to the actual intent of the product. So one thing that made me think of that, solo cups. Everyone associates this with people who are drinking and drinking socially, maybe drinking often, including alcohol measurements on the inside, such as little tabs to keep a track of how much you're drinking, would be counterintuitive to the over drinking standard and help consumers be more safe with the product while using very little space involved. Another would be a time-locked or an alarm fridge. Now, the idea with this would be people with eating problems. For example, I have a friend who has a problem with anorexic tendencies and he doesn't eat enough. So having an alarm of some sorts on your fridge that would be reminding you to eat, or at least go over to the kitchen and bridge that mental gap, would be really helpful. At the same time, a time-locked fridge, if you have overeating problems, would be really helpful for reducing late-night snacking or between meals or things of that nature. And another in the sort of CBD infused product would be a CBD aftershave. So for me, for example, I get very irritated skin without using the right aftershave, and even if you can use the right one, that'll reduce the like skin effects. It'll still have tingly, stingy feeling, and including CBD in that aftershave would be a way to combine two things that don't necessarily make sense together to reduce problems. And the fourth strategy is the donut hole, not the donut. Now, to me, this meant what kind of empty space is not being used that could be used otherwise, and would add an advantage to a product or a new design for a product. Now, one idea I thought of was for driving. We've all seen like phone holders that you can put into a CD slot or mount on your dashboard. I think it would be a good incentive for car companies to have a locked phone slot that would be integrated into the car, and you could have it locked at certain times, and just to vertically integrate that and reduce the need for outside products. Another would be QR code product patches on jerseys. Now, this would be more for retail, like sports jerseys, not the ones in games. Most of them in games will have branding like along the chest, on the patches here. If you were to integrate that into retail jerseys, this would give extra branding opportunities for the company and use space that would otherwise not really be used. And on the top of that, QR codes are not necessarily as off-putting from a brand sense to consumers as opposed to like a branding name or a logo, so it would be more of an aesthetic design pleasing. And the last product idea for this are ski gloves with reinforced backings. So I have a lot of friends who have problems with breaking fingers or like having fingers get sprained because most ski gloves can be bent backwards. Now, like in a soccer glove, you will have backings on the back of the fingers, or in lacrosse, hockey, sports like this, so that the fingers can't bend backwards and be sprained or broken. Now, integrating this into the glove would make it a lot safer for skiers and promote a little healthier, less cracked skiing lifestyle. And that's all we have here. Really loved coming up with all these strategies and looking forward to coming up with more. Thanks.